Okay, another video diary. Here we go. So much in my heart. We might cover a lot of terrain today. So I want to talk first about that I currently live in New York City, in Brooklyn, and I'm in a studio apartment that I have been in for a year and a half. And I don't know what's next. I gotta get my tissues. I think I have to share some of my history for context for those of you who don't know me and are new here. By the way, thank you. I ended last year with 129 subscribers, and as of recording this, I have 169, which means I've gained 40 new subscribers in the first week of 2026, which, thank you. Feels so grateful to all of you. So, I love New York City. I have always loved New York City. I grew up in Connecticut on the coast. So I used to take the train in with my family, and New York City was just the place where dreams came true. I always felt it as this place where people could bring to life the things that they wanted. And it's just always been so special to me. I wanted to come here for college, and then just didn't make sense financially. So I went to the University of Connecticut for 4 years. And long story short is had I had trouble in college. Like, I did well, and I was really lost, like, emotionally, and I did a lot of things, kind of overwhelmed myself actually by doing too much, which I know a lot of women have had this. Like, it's been a pattern that's repeated itself in my life of like doing too much and then feeling burnt out and stretched. So that happened, and I ended up also meeting my first boyfriend and becoming bonded to him quite quickly through us having sex quite shortly after meeting. And I met him 2008. And that semester, I was just having such a hard time that I ended up, for the first time in my college, like 3 years of college at that point, took an incomplete in a class. I failed a class. And then I didn't, what else happened? I think like I didn't finish a class or something like that. And so as a result, that semester, I stayed in school for another year, but I didn't graduate when I was supposed to in spring 2009. And that boyfriend and I went on a road trip that summer, 2009, out toward California. And then we were going to come back to Connecticut. I was going to finish school, and then we wanted to move to New York City. So we went on this road trip and stopped for a little bit in Colorado, and then a little bit literally turned into 2 years. I think we both needed to leave where we grew up for a while, and it was really hard. The first 8 months were really, really hard. And then I adjusted, and I now look and see that it was this gift that I didn't realize at the time to leave home, to like discover my own way. especially given that, well, let's just say I knew that there was a better way in my heart to live life, a healthier way to live life. And I wanted to discover what that was. And I kind of did that just all on my own for many years, trial and error, as many of us do, as probably most of us do. And we were there for 2 years, and then I had this impulse to go to Austin. That I'll probably share this story another time, but there was like a very specific inciting incident where I found out that my favorite filmmaker, Richard Linklater, had made all his films in Austin and was from there. And as soon as I found that out, my whole being, along with that, Austin is the live music capital of the world, right? It's called that. My whole being was like, oh, have to go, have to be in Austin. I just knew. I'd never been there. And so we moved 3 months later in June 2011. And it's 9 months after that I left this man. Again, my first boyfriend that I met when I was 20 years old. And I'm part of the reason I'm sharing this is because I'm in a moment that has a reverberation from the sort of felt sense of this moment when I left this man, and I knew that my life was going to change forever. Excuse me. I knew that relationship wasn't the right way for me. I didn't leave it gracefully. In fact, before coming into relationship with God, all those relationships with men, I don't think I left any of them gracefully, because I stayed in relationships that, first of all, I entered into relationships in a way that wasn't intentional, that was usually driven by being sexually bonded very fast, or just sort of like the feeling of really, liking this person, or him providing for me, taking care of me. I mean, and of course, like us having fun together, right? Like all the people that I've been with, every single one, I've had fun with them. And, so many good men. I've been in several long-term relationships and then shorter, like dating experiences with men where I was very clear that I wasn't available for partnership, but like, we could effectively boyfriend, girlfriend, right? Though I wouldn't label us that, because there was a period of time in my late 20s where I was very clear, like, I'm single. I need to just figure myself out. But yes, this moment when I left my first boyfriend, I knew that my life was going to change forever. And I didn't know how. I didn't know where I was going to go and what I was going to do. And I didn't have, a relationship with God. And this time I was just doing it all on my own. And also I was in Texas and I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone. We had sort of just stayed together for the 9 months that we were together. And the reason we even went on the road trip in the first place is because he figured out this way to make money online through affiliate marketing. And then I helped him with it. And we were able to road trip and then move to Colorado and then, maintain a life that way. And then moved to Texas. And so, I had not really gone out and met people in Austin. I hadn't been social. And it was when a friend of mine was visiting in 2012, South by Southwest, which happens in March in Austin. And it's, the city is very, very vibrant. So even if you don't have tickets to South by Southwest, there's still so much going on and there's so much energy and like a lot of people in the city, right? So with her being there, I really was able to see how that relationship I was in was not it. It wasn't the right path for me. But when I left him, I didn't have any money. I had not, all the finances were really in his name, and I helped him with the work that he was doing, but I didn't really have, I didn't really have agency. And I take responsibility for that, right? Couldn't see at the time that that was important, but now it's, I take responsibility for all of my choices. And so I didn't have money. I didn't want to go back to Connecticut because I felt that I had left to be able to find my own way and find like a better, healthier way to live, just trusting that there was something more for me. Just a big dreams. I've always been a big dreamer, right? And so I went out to be in this journey of self-discovery. So I didn't want to go back to Connecticut, but I knew that was an option. And the other option I saw was going to a shelter. So I looked up homeless shelters. And the last option was a gentleman that I had met during South by Southwest, who I had a really beautiful connection with. And he was very sweet and he cared about me. And he said that he had an extra room that I could stay in. And so I did. That's what I chose so that I could stay in Texas. And lived with him for 9 months outside of Austin. And he's in the military. Good man, very good man. And I had this choice about, do I move with him where he wanted to go after he got out of the military? Or do I go back to Austin? And I wanted to go back to Austin. And so I found a room, met somebody. It's like such a long story, but I met somebody. I found a room that I could stay in temporarily, found a job that I could have just to kind of transition back into being there. And long story short, at some point, the relationship with this man came to realize that that also wasn't the relationship for me, the ultimate relationship for me. I think on some level, I didn't have a perception of, oh, I want to be married and I want to be a wife and I want to have a husband. But like on some deep level, that is what I wanted. It's like I couldn't locate it. So I was just getting really quickly into these relationships with different men. It was actually after this one ended that I said, okay, I need to just not be in like a partnership for a while and I spent the next 6 years in Austin, just different jobs, moving around to different places. I was on couches for a good part of that time, several times over, just figuring out my way, working as a cashier. I worked as, in retail, I worked as a passenger service assistant at the Austin airport. And so I would assist people who were needing to get around in the airport, who were in wheelchairs or who were blind or deaf. I would help them get to where they needed to go. It's a really beautiful job. Didn't pay a whole lot and relied a lot on tips, but it was so, what I loved about it was being able to be in an airport, and just at that point I hadn't traveled outside the country yet, and I always wanted to travel. Always. I always wanted to see the world. Like since I was little, and learned about things like the Eiffel Tower and the pyramids in Egypt, and like that the countries in Asia just look and feel completely different than anything I've ever seen, right? I always wanted to travel. And so it was really nice to work at an airport and just dream about it and talk to people about where they were going. And yeah, and gosh, Burning Man is another story that is a thread I'll go into at some point, because I had wanted to go to Burning Man, and I would meet people in the airport when they were going off to Burning Man, and said, "Oh, I want to make it there," and they were like, "You will, you will." Well, I did. That's a story for another time. Wow. So I did all these jobs. I bounced around, just like making my way as best I could in Austin. And I look back, and I think the reason I'm bringing this up now, where I am in regard to my living situation now, here and now in New York City, is I look back, and there were so many moments where I didn't know what was going to come next. I didn't know, and I felt so scared. And I by the grace of God, I had people show up. I had people show up for me. And why that means so much to me now is that I didn't have a relationship with God. I couldn't even say God. But now that I do have that relationship, I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so provided for. I was so taken care of. I was living so consistently in this sort of survival, and like trying to make it, and and appreciating profoundly what I was being given, right? The people who took me in, the couches that I stayed on. Again, there were several rounds of this, right? And I know that some of you watching this are people who have had me on your couch and offered me a place to stay, even a whole room in your home. It's just so beautiful to look back and feel now, wow, like God had his hand in my life. I was supremely taken care of. And I find myself in this moment of, well, if you watched the video that I posted on January 1st of the work and the lifestyle that I left behind, that was a bit over a year ago. And the companion work that I did. I'll post a link to the video below this video. So I went on this whole journey of doing this work for a variety of reasons, right? But one of them was that it was a way to make money. And that was really appealing to me. The funny thing is that I still have been living inside of this like survival mindset of, oh my gosh, but what's the next thing? I need, I need to make sure that I have what I need, and and it's just like I've still been in for a long time this like low level anxiety, which I've had a better relationship with it, right? But that's still been there. How am I going to survive? Am I going to make it to next month? And so I'm sitting in this apartment, and it's possible. Well, first of all, I have spent the last year and a half creating this beautiful home. Like, it's so beautiful. I had lived on couches and then roommates and some really challenging living situations in Austin for about 5.5, 6 years. In the last like year and a half that I lived in Austin, I had my own studio apartment, and it was like my own apartment for the first time. And then moved to New York, had my window of opportunity. It just can't, like, it's happened so beautifully, cosmically, perfectly. I had been dreaming about moving to New York, like, right at some point in my life. I had a poster on my wall for about a year of the New York City skyline artfully depicted. And I was here in July 2018, and a friend of a friend reached out to me via text and said, hey, I hear you're in New York City. If you happen to be looking for a room, I have one available starting in September. And I knew in that moment, I was like, that's my room. That's my ticket to New York. So I wasn't planning it, but it just appeared. And I knew that was the next move for me. And so I went back to Austin, packed up my things, gave away a bunch of things, 2 giant suitcases. And I got on a plane and I moved here September 1st, 2018. So 10 years just on this adventure, Colorado and then Austin. And then I landed in New York. Now I've been here for 7 years and 4 months. So yeah, this home, the way that it came into my world, it came at a moment where now almost 2 years ago, I left a relationship. I left the home that I had been living in. I stayed in a sublet for almost a month, and then cat sat for almost a month. And then I had a friend who had this space available. And I've been here since. And I have been spending the last year investing in my spiritual well-being, my emotional well-being, my relational field, in regards to like really being immersed in spaces and mentorship experiences with women who I have learned a lot from around relationships with men And and with God and with truth. And I trained in DJing. I had been taught by this man that I used to be in a relationship with, who I will be forever grateful for. He said, "You love dancing and you love music, you love people. You'd make a great DJ." So he taught me the first basic skill sets that I needed to know. And then last year I invested more in this skill set. And so that I started going to church last Easter. Took a lot of humility, a lot of humbling myself, to be able to go to church and commit to going. It has been so transformative for my heart. Incredibly so. And just started reading the Bible last year as well, of course. So I love this space. And I don't know if I'm going to stay. It kind of remains to be seen at this point. The reason I'm sharing about all of this is that I have felt really scared about losing this apartment, or about not being able to live here, not being able to afford it. And it really has been dawning on me, and just dawned on me today in a really big way, that this feels like another one of those moments where there's a choice. There's something that's going to happen that I don't quite see yet. I don't know yet how it's going to go. But what a different experience it is to actually have faith. To feel in my body this trust, this sense of faith that not only will I be okay, but that whatever is to happen is exactly right for me, and for my journey, and for the journey that God is calling me into, the life that God is calling me into. That could look like staying in this apartment and continuing. I love filming here, right? I have had there's so much that I want to film, and there's, only so many hours in a day, and I'm doing this all myself. But yeah, interviews, and there's art that I feel excited to make, and more videos and teachings and conversations that I feel excited to host. And it really just dawned on me today that I am so all in on this journey of my YouTube and my podcast, and sharing myself, and uplifting other people's voices, and sharing my story. And gosh, so there's so much. My writing, and it's like, now that I'm actually really all in on what God is calling for me to do, it's like it doesn't, I love this space. I love this apartment. And it just doesn't matter if I stay here or if I'm somewhere else. What matters is that I am like doing what is being called of me to do. And I can do that anywhere. This just feels like such a significant moment for me because of all the moments of panic and fear and like, my God, but my survival and how am I going to get to and just the constriction in my body. How am I going to get to the next month and what is going to happen and all of this, you know? And then not to mention all the guilt that I carried for so long of like, oh, I didn't get my degree, or I didn't, I haven't stayed with some kind of job, or I didn't like go down some traditional path, or I, did this work that was very underground and in some cases like, quite, risky and dangerous. And also I felt like I was living this, secret life essentially. Like all the stuff that I was carrying about my livelihood and it's just so funny because I have that, but then I also have this whole world that I've been nurturing through all the ways that I've invested in myself, that other people have invested in me, the ways that I have been mentored, the ways that I have mentored others, the ways that I have just tried things to see what would happen, right? And so this is a huge moment for me. Anyone watching this, just know, like, this sharing of myself on YouTube in the way that I am, and finally just doing the thing, and feeling this freedom to do it. Like, I don't feel encumbered. I don't feel scared. There's like, sometimes I get thoughts like, oh, should I say this? It's like, yes, say what is true. Trust yourself and trust God. And this is all going to turn to dust one day anyway. So this is such a big moment for me. And I see all the different ways that this could go, Does it work out for me to stay in this apartment? Do I move somewhere else in New York? Do I move just outside the city? Do I rent a room somewhere and get a job as a cashier and continue to build this, and pour my heart and soul into this, because I finally feel like I've found a place to like house my passion and what I have to share. There's just so much. There's so much. I feel like I've been sitting on this like gold mine for so long, and just I have all this wealth. I've talked about this in my video with my friend Margot Natalie. It's going to be going by Natalie now. She's talk about that at some point. But yes, I was talking about spiritual wealth, and that it's like whatever your spiritual wealth is. My spiritual wealth are the things that I have learned, the wisdom that I've gathered, the skills, the things that I know that I get to give away now. And that's what I feel like this is. This is like a journey in me giving away what I have, what I know, the people that I have in my life, incredible people, in a world where, it's so easy for the unconscious aspects of our minds to like seek for the things that are wrong and the things that are going bad and the things that are not, that we should be fearful of, the unconscious mind, but also the survival brain, right? It's like, this is not wrong, but I've just continued, like my whole life, I've always searched for the good. I've always sought out the good in people, in places, in my circumstances. So even if there was a part of me that felt afraid of, for my survival and what am I going to do? And oh my gosh, I've also always sought for the good in this world because I've felt intimately aware of like when you look for the good, you get more of it. When you assume the best, and this is not about, being naive, although we all have our own journeys to go on to learn how to make our way in this world and have a spine without being hardened by the world, but that, most people are good. And to assume that is just leads to a joyful life. And I'm so glad that even in the midst of everything that I've been in, everything that I've journeyed, like I've still always found the joy. That even in those moments, all the moments in my life where I felt so scared for my survival and how am I going to pay my rent and where am I living and where am I moving next and when I've been on couches and when I've left relationships and didn't know what was going to happen, right? Like I've still always sought joy and sought what is good in and about the world and about my life. And so now having this context of relationship with God, it's like expanded that. I'm not talking about overnight, right? This is the last, I really started to tend relationship with God very, very slowly about 4 years ago. And then way more intentionally last April. Like a year and a half. It was a year and a half ago, actually, that I started praying more intentionally, but it still wasn't every single day. It was when I was leaving that relationship, the last one that I left, and my uncle, who was very dear to me, was dying at the same time. And I just felt stripped open. Didn't have a place to live yet. Didn't know what was going to happen next. Staying, like I said, cat sitting for a friend. And I just remember her and her husband weren't there. So it was just me and her cat and me and her cat and God just on her floor. Like, what do I do? Like, what is this? What does this all mean? Right. It's like at the bottom of everything was so in the pits because how the story of my uncle's passing was also really hard to witness. And I did what was needed to show up for that man as best I could in the last days of his life. And, when I felt stripped of all the stuff that I knew and this future that I thought I had with the man that I was with and the lifestyle that I was leading, that just crumbled because it wasn't true. It wasn't like really rooted in what is true for me in my life and the purpose in my life, And then my relationship with my uncle, who I had always dreamed of, he played the sax, and he loved music, and I always dreamt of singing on stage with him playing the sax, and that dream died with him. It was just a really, really sobering time, year and a half ago, going through this, and I went into prayer. I didn't have anything else. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Went into prayer. And then it was about 9 months later, like last April, so April 2025, that I started really praying. And props to Adina Hammer of Feminine Healing Ministries for showing up in my Instagram inbox and saying, hey, I think you'll like this prayer experience that I'm offering. It's 30 days of prayer every day for 30 days. Showed up on a Zoom call with a group of women and prayed together. And that really set into motion my prayer practice that I've been doing ever since. And then started reading the Bible, started going to church. God bless you, Adina. So many amazing women in my life. She is one that I would love to have on my podcast. So, um, yes, I have been. So I'm here in New York. I had my first like group online offering launch in December. It's a small group of women, but the experience has been about really getting women into their bodies. Feminine embodiment laboratory called Pure and Primal. And I've been offering meditations and prayers and DJ sets to facilitate women like feeling themselves. So small group, but it's felt so good to do that, to offer that. So good. And I've been working with a woman one-on-one who creating a new life for herself after a breakup and learning to feel herself. And I'm so grateful for that, and to be a guide and a way shower and a companion on that journey with her, alongside her. And I've also been DJing for this incredible event called Dance Surrender in New York. We did 7 of them, I believe, last year. And myself and my friend Lavona, who I had an interview with on my podcast, one of my first episodes, and I'll have her on again on my channel very soon. We have so much to talk about. But it's a blindfolded partner dance experience where the women, or there's leads and follows. You sign up to be a lead or a follow. Typically it's women signing up to be a follow, but sometimes we have men as well. Choose your own adventure. And the follows are blindfolded and led into this experience of deep surrender into the body, right? Being blindfolded and brought into the darkness and available for people to lead you, for the leads in the room to lead you. And so building the bonds of trust between people, like, it has been such an extraordinary space. And so we have our next one coming up this Saturday, and then every second Saturday through June here in Brooklyn. And the leads are, of course, invited into artful conscious leadership, right? When you're leading people who are blindfolded, it's like, wow, you're really responsible for creating an experience for this person and being attuned to them. You know, it's like such a beautiful space. I have felt so excited to serve. Lavona called me around, well, it was this month last year. She called me and she said, hey, I want to do this thing and I want you to be the DJ for it. Will you? And to be honest, I felt all the fears and nervousness, but I also felt like, yes, this is for me. And this is a way that I can serve. So here we are. I have other, I feel so available to bring my story and my prayer and my ceremonial, like, heart offerings to people in person, and obviously here on my YouTube channel. And that's the most important thing. Just looking around this apartment, and I love it so much, and all my clothes and all my art. the juicer and blender that I invested in last year, and my books and my record player and my couch. This was a huge investment. Like, just to be able to buy a new couch felt really, really good. My plants. And I'm so grateful for all of these things, but to be in this moment where it's like, I'm willing to lose it. I'm willing to let it go for whatever is the next right thing for me. It's like, do not be burdened by the things of the world, and being right with God and recognizing that I am here to be of service, not in this way that is like the old way of just overdoing and overgiving and overfunctioning and then feeling depleted. It's like, no, God wants me to be nourished. I'm his daughter. He wants me to be like provided for. And I am his daughter in service of heaven on earth. In service of, as I have now learned and felt in my body, service of the kingdom of heaven on earth. Like, this is a story for another time, but oh my gosh, the idea of building the kingdom of heaven, like, why wouldn't I be interested in that, be in service to that on the planet? This is a beautiful planet. This is a beautiful planet. I have seen it. I've not seen all of it, but I have seen a lot of places that I just dreamt of for so long. And I finally got to see them, and I'm like, wow. Like, the Oceanside in Brazil, the Vatican in Italy, the streets of Paris, the Barton Springs in Austin, Sigiriya in Sri Lanka, Table Mountain in Cape Town, all the people of this world. Many of whom living their lives, and many of whom doing the best they can, and many of whom are contributing positively in their corner of the world. Why would I not want to be in service of, like, bringing the kingdom realm, the realm of heaven, to earth through the choices that I make, through the words that I speak to people and over people? It's just so funny, because before having this relationship intentionally, consciously with God, I see how I was still doing that in all these small ways. Not small, but like I still have always had that heart. And yeah, maybe small, small ways, right? Being kind to people, being as gracious as possible, being compassionate, serving wherever I was as best I could at the time. It just feels so good now to really feel again in my being, in my body, that I'm not alone in this. That I'm not doing this by myself. That not only does God have me in my back, but all these people who, like, know and love God and even live in a godly way, even if they don't realize it, right? The way that I did many times in my past. But like there's so many loving people that I know now that don't have a relationship with God, but are the kindest, most generous, beautiful, open-hearted, loving people. Having a relationship with God it's not like a prerequisite to being a good person. I just have found that it's helped me rest enough for that the sense of, again, not feeling like I'm alone in this, or that I have to figure my way into surviving. Because all these moments where I felt so terrified that something horrible might happen, and I was okay. I was cared for. And I probably would have said in the past, like, I figured it out. Now I'm just like, oh, God, help me figure it out. God helped me. God was there and is here now. And whatever, again, is next for me. And my mind goes into all these places, right? Again, New York, do I go outside New York? Do I get a cashier job somewhere while I'm building all that I'm building? Do I, do this? Do I be in Connecticut, a little bit closer to my family? Do I go to Austin? Do I go to Charlotte, where some of my family is? Do I go to Nashville because it's been on my heart? Or somewhere else, some other place that I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know. So I'm sharing the truth of my journey, and that I don't know, and that I just trust. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Invitation, if you've made it this far. Is there something that you can hand over in trust, in faith? Not from a place of like, oh, fine. Okay, I just give it up. I give it, but from a place of, I surrender this. And I trust whatever is in the highest good for me will come to be. That's all for now.